Daith da, Ewi Nakan. Welcome to podcast number 62. Well, just over a week ago, I went up to Camelford Leisure Centre and I met up with the Camelford Stingers Amateur Swimming Club. And their chairman, Olivier, I've known him for quite a while, and he did mention to me a little while ago whether our charitable fund could give a donation to the club. So I said, yep, I'd be more than happy to. So I popped up. I was there about an hour watching them, and the youngsters, fantastic swimmers. You might have heard a previous podcast about my swimming ability. Didn't that good. But these were fantastic. You know, they would do, I don't know how many lengths just as a warm up. So I went up there and, had a little chat with them. So I put a little post on our RJ Bray Facebook page and a photo. So if you want any more information on them, if you're living in the area, you can obviously look into that. I haven't had a chance to put it on our website yet. I must try and do that under the charitable fund page bit next week. But had a good evening up there and a worthy cause, and I wish them best of luck for the future. As far as this week goes, we've been very busy again. If any of you was in Padstow on Monday afternoon, you might well have seen us. 'Twas a lovely sight. We conducted the funeral for a former station officer of Padstow Fire Station. And we were so lucky that we had the fire engine from Padstow with the crew leading the hearse down through. Well, as we was coming up from the house, when we got to the fire station, they pulled in front of us and then led us to church and then led us up to the cemetery down through the town. So you may well have seen us there. And it was brilliant. A lovely sight, a lovely tribute to a lovely man. And we've had the fire engine a few times over the years, but you always got your fingers crossed because obviously they're on call. And I know once we did have a funeral at Glyn Valley and it was lovely. The fire engine was there before, but during the service they had a call. So we come out and they're gone. But we was lucky they didn't have a shout and all went well there. As well as Padstow, we've been other places again this week. We've been to Bodmin and Padstow again today, actually. But Wednesday was a bit different for me. We went to somewhere out of our area, somewhere I'd never conducted a funeral before. And we had the burial before at Tremail, and then we went to Eglascarry Parish Church. And if you went through the village while we was there, well, you would have seen what a huge funeral it was. We had the PA system outside. Thankfully, the weather was kind to us, and it was a fantastic service. And I thought, well, what I would do for perhaps me Cornish word of this week, I'll look up to see what Eglascarry means in Cornish, and then that'll be a way of doing that. As you know, Eglasale down here is Cornish for Eglas is church, so I knew that. Hale is estuary, so it's church by the estuary. So I thought, right, Eglascarry, obviously Eglas is church, so I'll see what Kerry is. Well, as it turns out, I did me research, and Kerry is actually after St. Kyria, or Caria, and she's thought to be one of the children of the Welsh king. I think you pronounce it Richard, I think, and he had 24 children all in all. And a lot of them came down here to Cornwall to be saints. There was like St. Mabon, just up from us, Indelienta, St. Indelian, and Kiri is another one. But I say I won't go through them all. But if you looked it up on the internet, so many churches are named after these saints, which were the children from this king. So I can't really use that as me Cornish word of the week, really. I feel that would be cheating. So I'm going to have to think about something else in a minute. One other thing that comes to mind before we get on to me interview this week, as I've mentioned in the past, as you know, we provide funeral plans where people come in, they plan their funeral. A lot of them then pay for their funeral, and obviously we don't keep the money. We send it to a trust fund, which is run. We use Golden Charter, and they look after the money. And as you would have heard in one of the podcasts before, there's been a big clampdown on this side of the funeral business in the past year or two with funeral plans. And there's a lot more stricter regulations, which I think is good, really. I think it's something that was needed. One of those things, it now all comes under the Financial Conduct Authority. And unknown to us, and we only found out about it yesterday, but a couple of weeks ago, they actually sent a mystery shopper to us. And what it was, they'd primed this person up, and he got in contact and said he wanted to meet us about taking out a funeral plan. And obviously, we didn't know that it was somebody on behalf of the authority. So he met with Claire. Claire went through everything. And we actually had the report back yesterday, and the fantastic result she had, I think it said the percentage she had, I think it was 87%. It was fantastic. And we were told that she was in the top 3 or 4 of the country of those that have been looked into so far. So well done, Claire. Fantastic job, mate. Proper job. So now we're on to me interview for the week. And this week 'tis with David Williams. Now, before I start, off the top of my head, I can name you 4 David Williamses that I know. So just to narrow it down, who we're with tonight, 'tis David Williams from Lanivet. Live Lanivet all his life. There's others I know lived in Wadebridge, moved away, or one David still lives here in Wadebridge. But this David is the bellringer of Lanivet. So we have a lovely little chat tonight. And my microphone I have on me when I'm doing a recording, he's very good quality microphone, but he'll pick up the slightest little detail. And I know in the past, I think last week, Char, you caught his papers rustling a bit, as it did with Barry a week or 2 ago. And on this one, in and out, you'll just hear noise, which is just Dave's coat rustling a little bit. But 'tis a brilliant interview. I hope you enjoy it. Talking about Lanivet from when he was growing up and everything. And then I'll come back. I got a little bit to say directly when he finished. So here goes. Get on, Dave. How we knacking?
Right on, Dave. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, mate. Very good. Thank you for coming here today.
That's right.
So I think we'll start at the very beginning. Have you always lived Lanivet?
Well, up till now.
Yeah. That's right. All right. So tell us where you was born and all that.
Well, I was born on Trilligan Farm. And then when we was about 3-year-old, I suppose father got a farm up behind Lakeview, which was Colbiggin.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah, so we all moved up to there then. Neighbours up there then was the Davises, Bill and Den and Melville. And of course, Jenny Burles. And then when they moved out, the Kents come in, Jim and Corey Kent. And of course, Tony, he was about 12 months younger than me, I suppose. So, yeah, we were a bad age up there. We used to rest the dillies up and down the lane. Of course, the lane was rough as a dog's guts. So we had some fun up there for several years, really.
What was mother and father's Christian names again?
Pam and Cecil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were they from round this area too then?
Well, yeah. Well, my granddad bought Trilligan in 1935.
Right.
And I think father was something like 5-6-year-old then. They come up from Port Phillip.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where the Williams side originated. But mother's side was always around Bugle. All the Osborns and stuff. And they were tied up a fair bit with the China Clay Works, most of them.
Yeah.
So then after, when I was old enough to go Bodmin School, I had to go Bodmin Secondary School for several years.
Where did he go for, about primary school, and where did he go?
That was Lanivet.
That was?
Yeah, that was always Lanivet, yeah. All the lot of us went there. I think it's about the 4th, 5th generation down Lanivet School now.
Get away,
so,
yeah.
So then, like I said, we went on to Bodmin Secondary School. And even then, when we come home, back in the 80s, we still had thrashing and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Everybody used to come from everywhere. And, of course, I always tell everybody I left school at 14
Yeah.
which technically I did because we finished for the school holidays when I was 14. I was 15 in August. So during the summer holidays, I went over to John Harris over at Ira Woodley and helped he out over the summer. And when I was 15, he took me on full time.
Did he really? Yeah.
So then I stayed over there until 1973. I got a job then with ACLP on the landscaping side. And back then, I think when I left Foreman, we was on £22 a week. And I think ACLP was £32 a week,
cool.
Which is 30 wages more.
Yeah, exactly.
Made a big difference.
Yeah, definitely.
And of course, while I was over there, of course, John, he was a bellringer down Lanivet.
Right.
So he sort of, there wasn't much else on anywhere, if you like. So, I went down there and started to ring. So, I suppose I've been ringing now nearly, 52 years, and I still don't know what I'm doing half the time. So, from there, then we joined Weybridge Young Farmers. And when we went down there, I think John Warwick was chairman then.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And then, of course, Andrew Oakey took on for me. So that was all the ones. And Weybridge Club then was a brilliant club. I don't know what they are like these days, but back then they was winning everything. And Barbara West and all the other Oakeys, and then I was with Keith and Phil, sheep shearing and stuff like that. So we had some good days then. And then we was in our club entertains or come dancing and that sort of thing. And then I used to do a bit of folk dancing around, Newton it was called, just out of Nanstallen there.
Yeah.
And we had a fair group of, I don't know, for about 5 years or so, I suppose. And then I went on and joined the Trig Morris men as well.
Yeah.
And, back then they were a darn good crew. We really was, of course we were fit and younger. But it's like everything, your knees start to give out and your back start to pack in. So, you sort of got to give it up. And of course, I was playing rugby for Bodmin at the time as well. So when my back went, I went to the doctor and that. He said, don't you do anything that's any good for your back? So, so we've had some good times, like.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, that gives me a brief outline. So I think if we go in depth to it more, so like when you was Lanivet primary school, like I don't know who your schoolmates would have been then. Would you have known any of like father's cousins, the Vigases and that? Was they there or no?
They were all finishing. Martin was about the youngest one.
Yeah.
But all the other like Sybil and Tish and Robin and all they near enough left school when I started there,
Right.
Or nearly finishing, let's put it that way. I was like 5-year-old and they were coming on nearly 14, But
how many classrooms was there then?
There were 3 when we went there. You had Miss Crocker who used to do the infants.
Right.
You had Mr. Delaney that used to do the middle class. And then Julian was the headmaster and done the senior ones.
Right.
Of course, that was before the secondary school opened up. When the secondary school opened up, Mr. Delaney, he went to Bodmin Secondary. So we only had 2 classes then for a fair while.
I see.
Who
was your classmates? And
well, that's good. Colin Diamond, he was gone on now. He was a big boy too. He was laughing. And George Evans and Russell Carthew and all that. Them still Lanivet area, them still all around there.
Yeah.
But of course the classes was a lot smaller then.
Yeah.
I was in the infant side and I know George and David Sanders. Yeah. Well, David Sanders always wore Obnator boots. He'd be clacking around the yard everywhere, because back then the infants would be one side.
Yeah.
And then the older, and with the girls then, and then the older boys was the other side of the wall,
Yeah, I get it.
It was split right up, and which you all had to walk right down in the village for a canteen. The canteen then was down right opposite the Welcome Stranger. Somebody lives there now, but that was the school canteen. We all had to walk there every day.
Yeah.
And, while you was going down there, you was here clacking and going, and because this was the army marching up the road, they all come up, and of course then you had Roy Tunkin's garage there and his little showroom, and they all stopped there.
Yeah.
And they're taking out their boiled eggs and cracking them on the wall and all that lot, all in their kit.
Of course, that garage, that was a busy garage, wasn't it?
It was a good garage, yeah. It was. And of course, most of it was the same family, really.
Right.
But Mrs. Arthur, she was a Tongan. And she had the store right there. And then Mrs. Matthews had the bottom one. And she was a beauty. When you see her driving around, she couldn't see over the steering wheel, and you could see them coming around. Oh. Yeah.
So when you was young then, was there any other shops then in the village, or?
It was just they two, really. Latter years, I think the Forge turned out to be a bakery for a little while, but that was only a few years, and that packed up again. But of course, we had two fish and chip shops, one opposite each other.
Yeah.
And Connie, she done well there for years, and then it got took over. I think the people that took it over, the son is involved now with the shop down the village.
Right.
He was brought up sort of there, but he didn't take the fish and chips on, or else his parents just sold it, because of course there's all houses now.
Yes, yeah.
But you tend to forget things as time go on, don't you? You walk around and you talk to people, and you see all these things. And you think, you forget that.
Exactly.
Like the Workingmen's Institute, that Gavin I shed that was right opposite the church. They had a snooker table and all in there.
Did they really?
Yeah. But of course now there's only the one there now.
Yeah. And I suppose the village was smaller, because there's a lot of houses built there behind now, isn't there?
Yeah, well, when I was at school, Woodland Glade was a mill pond.
Was it?
There was a river top end of school, and that come down from Tremere, and that used to overflow. Half of them used to go over under the church steps and all the way over to the parish hall. There was a duck pond on that there. And then he used to go way down to the water wheel down in, that was an Ancock that owned that. But the wheel and that's still there.
Yeah. But
when they went and built the houses, of course, they drained it all. They put most of the water underground. So then it just gradually all silted up and dried up, but it's still wet, like the top end of the green and stuff. Water always keep finding its own way through, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And then further up the road, Woodland View, well, that was our football fields years ago. There was cows and all out on their fields. But then once they built on that, the village is pretty altered, really. The village at the moment has just started to buck up again, really, in lots of ways. But for several years, when you get so many new people move in, you went from knowing everybody in the parish to being a stranger in your parish,
Exactly.
And then the carnivals all stopped and different things like that. It took a little while to get going, but the community down Lanivet at the moment is absolutely brilliant.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing well, really.
Do you have a carnival now then? Or
no? They haven't had one years, and they used to have the drum majorettes, and that was a big thing years ago, and you used to have like 22 troops, they come in on buses and everything. The village green was just full of them.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all gone now. You don't hear about anything about drum majorettes or nothing now.
No. So when you was like primary school, obviously you had your playing around. Was it dilly carts? Is how you used?
We had dillies. That was home. That was up on the farm. That was we made dillies up there, and of course we had Brev Slope down our place, and he's brim rough. And my God, then we used to tank down there. My brother always had one with the smaller wheels, but for some reason he was faster. Oh, did he used to go, man?
Any brakes?
No brakes. No brakes. Only the edge down the bottom, or you just hope that the gate wouldn't shut. Wore out Wax's shoes, because when you would get panicky, then your feet on the floor,
that's right,
try to anchor up.
Oh, beauty. So when you went Bodmin Comprehensive then, was that by bus, or how did you?
Yeah, we had taxi Lanivet and then bus into the school.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so, but they hated it, really. Always wanted to be home. We was home. Even as kids, we was always down in the woods and stuff like that. And Mother used to say, never used to worry about it. When we was hungry, we'd come home. If we was gone all day, we was gone all day. But
yeah, it was different back then.
yeah. But
did he play rugby at school then, or no?
only like in the PE lessons and stuff.
Right.
I used to play a lot of chess in school. I used to like that, and
Right.
I was pretty good come in. The one that taught me went on to be Southwest champion. Mm-hmm. I think he's called Danny O'Brien or Danny O'Byrne or something.
Right.
But he yeah. And there was a couple of us really when it come to big competitions. They could have gone either way. If one would win it one time, the other one would win it next time.
Yeah.
So.
So that was that, and then say you started working 15.
Yeah.
So who was you working with then? Was that on the farm? You say?
Yeah. Well, we were with John Harris. Yeah. It was only he then.
Right.
Yeah. The workman that he had, he just joined a contractor. So, I sort of stepped right in on that,
What did your working day entail there?
A fair bit, really. I used to start 8 and you could finish 10 o'clock at night. It all depends on what you were doing.
Yeah.
And of course, he had a brother that was farming up Camelford, so sometimes you had to go up there and help he out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a fair bit at the time, especially when he was on combining or harvesting or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had like 150 pigs we used to keep there. Well, that was from Dennis Jones.
Right.
He used to have the sows, and then we used to buy the farrows, sort of thing, So then when we were on A, he used to give me a hand with that, and me and he worked for hours on either putting them on the elevator or up stacking or whatever, like
Yeah, I get it.
Different to what they order now.
Yeah.
When the tech put come in, where you had to stack all the bales up into like 12s or 14s, and you pick them up on the front and up on the back. That made life a lot easier than up on every one. But,
definitely.
But now they got bigger bales again now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything's bigger now, isn't it? Mm. And then ECLP after that, do you say?
Yeah, 15th of March, 73. I joined ECLP.
So where was you based for that then?
Carthew.
Oh yeah. I know.
The nursery down Carthew. And one of my first jobs, I think, was planting the trees out, what we call out Tresurgy and out around there.
Right.
And then, of course, I went on then with the hydro seeding the tips and that. Because back when we were there, it was all sand and white, and
that's right.
Every time you got wind, it blowed all over the place.
Yeah.
So the first thing was to fix that, and I think they'd done that in conjunction with Liverpool University. I think they were the ones that done all the trials and the tests.
So that's just obviously stop all the dust and that.
Yeah.
Because when 'twas white, they used to call it Cornish Alps,
That's
didn't
right,
yeah. So that stopped all that.
So in the end, we were responsible from here right up to Dorset. I spent weeks upon weeks up in Wareham and up there. We always said, we had enough to do down around our way, right? We're not doing another county.
Yeah.
But marvellous thing about Wareham was we're out at Poole. I started a clay pit out there. And they went in with the scrapes.
Right.
And they took off all the top and cut on the side, like in Poole Harbour. And they just kept going around like that. And of course, that was going up. They went down.
Yeah.
We seeded it and planted the trees.
Right.
You wouldn't even know the pit was there.
Get away.
And when you think how close it was to Poole Harbour and everything else, well, these days would be ructions, but they done it in such a way you wouldn't even know they was in there.
No. Fantastic.
Yeah. But as I said with ECLP, there's wax of places there where they've always said the pit is never empty or never closed, and yet the planning was all the spoil tips and one another was supposed to be levelled and turned back into agricultural use.
Oh, was it?
But
right.
Because ECLP never closed anything.
No.
They never had to level anything.
No.
But that's one thing with Imerys now, they've sort of, they're building everywhere out Penwith or now. There's another little village nearly going on out there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So with Imerys, then, have they cut back on the amount of work they were doing years ago with the clay and everything then?
Oh, they have, yeah. Since Imerys took on, really, because they were a big people in Brazil, then they tried to push the Brazilian clay.
Right.
And of course, a lot of the customers at the time didn't like the Brazilian clay.
No.
So then they started, because they bought out our farm, they bought our scientists and stuff.
Oh.
So then they tried to blend the Brazilian clay with the Cornish clay.
Right.
We had wax of clay come into Bar and that from Brazil, but I don't think that worked.
No.
And that was why Gunveen and Restoric took off again, because the customers that were ECLP went over to Gunveen because they could still get the clay from them.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, ECLP several times tried to buy out Gunveen and wouldn't allow to because of the monopoly side of it. But the French done it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's like a lot of things they're doing now. You know, ECLP tried to like put in windmills and there's different things they want to do. It was always turned down, but for some reason it all gets passed now.
Yeah, exactly. So how many years was you there, ECLP then?
Well, I was there from 73. 40, nearly 40 years.
For a long time.
Yeah. ECLP started to cut back. Our section at one time there was 40. Then it went down to 32. And then it went down to 28. Then it went down to 17. And then on the last 17, it went down to about 4 or 5. And that's when I got made redundant then.
Right.
And then I went and got a job on with the Cornwall Hospice Care as a gardener down Mount Edgecombe.
Right. Yeah.
And I was there for a little while, like, and they called me in the office. Oh my God, you know, because I was doing that as a contract at the time.
I see.
And they said, no, he said, we want you to take on St. Julius as well down at Hale.
Right.
So I said, well, that's all right. But I said, I can't do that self-employed. I said, with all the travelling. He said, well, no, we want to take you on full time.
I see, yeah.
So that's what happened. I was supposed to be like 2 days St. Julius and 3 Mount Edgecombe, but you know, jobs don't work like that. Sometimes you get a bigger job St. Julius and you have to spend an extra day down there and so on.
Yeah.
And well, what I was there 5 years, I suppose.
Was that you by yourself then?
Yeah. But then it started to get, they bring in a manager for this and a manager for that and all that. At one time, I was like my own boss, but if I wanted to do anything, I report to the senior management. Well, then there was somebody else that come in, and then health and safety took on, and we're, you know, everything had to be the same height. So I wouldn't be able to work on steps or anything like that. Then I had a phone. I had to ring in every hour because I was a lone worker.
Right.
And all coswallop like that. And I said, hang on. I said, this don't bother me or don't concern me. They said, well, yes, it do. You're a lone worker. I said, no, it don't. I'm off. So I picked up my gear and never went back again.
No, that's right.
That was the end of that.
Yeah. And then you went on your own then, did he, doing gardening?
Well, yeah, a little bit. And I don't know whether I had a phone call from Mr. Bray or Mr. Bray phoned me. And
I think we met at Withiel Church one day. I think it was the first conversation, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, of course, you know, we seen your crowd around for several years when Father was running it and all his mates. So
that's right.
You know, we seen all day, and I had a very old laugh with your father when you first started to take the reins of it because he said, "There you are, look, you think he's in charge? Leave him get on with it." And we was all laughing outside.
I still think I'm in charge now, but I am. They let me think I'm the boss here anyway. Put it that way.
That's right. Well, we're more like that in life, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to stop for this week. So I hope you enjoyed it. It did make me laugh there because partway through, well, early at the beginning, I think, when I said to Dave, I said, have you always lived in Lanivet? And he said, up to now. And that reminded me when I was young. I remember I went to Nan Stalin one day in the summer holidays. I went to stay with Nan and Grant for the day. And we stood there in the village. I mean, it was so quiet then, not many cars going through and that. But I remember this chap stopped talking to Grampy. And he said to Grampy, have you lived in Cornwall all your life? And Grampy said, not yet, which I thought was brilliant. So that did remind me what Dave said there today. That did remind me of Grampy. I thought for me Cornish dialect of the week, I'd use a word that Dave used today. I don't know if 'tis Cornish or what, but to something we've heard down here, and that's when he said Mehdi was clacking around with his hobnail boots. Clacking, which is obviously the noise that he was making. And just by that word, you can just picture it, can he? He was clacking around. So clacking, I think that'll be me Cornish dialect word for the week. And for me Cornish word of the week, I thought I'd go for the Cornish for swim, which is nuva. Nuva. So that's me Cornish word for the week. Right, well, there we have it. I'll leave you to it now. And I'll speak to you again next week. Hope you have a good week. Wish you well. Do Guinness. Cernubis Vican.